All right, language lovers, buckle up. Because in this deep dive, we are diving into the age-old debate. Spanish or Portuguese?
Ooh, yeah, a classic dilemma.
It really is. You're itching to learn a new language, which is fantastic, but picking which one, it can feel impossible.
Like trying to choose between, I don't know.
Tapas or pastel de nata?
Ooh, see, now you're speaking my language.
Yeah.
But yeah, both are fantastic, just like these two languages.
Exactly. So to help us unpack this linguistic puzzle, we're cracking open Oualid's Spanish versus Portuguese language comparison. We're giving you the inside scoop so you can choose your adventure.
And let me tell you, this article dives deep. It's fascinating to see these two languages side by side.
Right, and the similarities jumped out right away. For starters, they both have roots in Latin. Talk about a family reunion, right?
It's a serious family tree. And that shared history, it means a ton in how these languages actually work. I'm talking about everything from the alphabet.
Okay, so no need to learn a whole new alphabet. That's a win for our listeners.
Right. You're already ahead of the game. But the similarities go way beyond just the letters. We're talking grammar, too.
So spill the beans.
Yeah.
What kind of grammatical goodies are we working with here?
Well, for one, they're both what we call null subject languages.
Null subject. Now, that sounds a little intimidating for someone just starting out. Can you break that down for us?
Absolutely. It just means that you can often ditch the subject pronoun, words like I or you in a sentence. The verb itself makes it clear who's doing what.
Oh, so it's like the verb is pulling double duty. That's pretty cool.
Exactly. So instead of saying, I speak Spanish, you can simply say, hablo español.
So much more efficient.
Right.
Right.
And that's just scratching the surface. They also have really similar conjugation patterns.
Conjugation, meaning like how verbs change to match the subject and the tense.
Exactly. So that's another thing you don't have to learn from scratch.
Music to our listeners' ears. It sounds like we're off to a good start if you're aiming for that language learning fast track. But let's be honest, part of the fun of diving into a new language is uncovering those little quirks, those things that make each one unique.
Oh, absolutely. And trust me, there are plenty of those to uncover as well.
Especially when it comes to pronunciation, right? I mean, the article hinted that things can sound quite different, even if they look similar on paper.
You're telling me? And Portuguese. Well, let's just say they like their vowels.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What makes Portuguese vowels so special?
Well, think about it this way. Spanish, 5, maybe 6 vowel sounds, tops. Portuguese, they're working with like 14.
Whoa, okay, that's a pretty big difference.
Right. And to make things even more interesting, they even have what we call nasal vowels.
Nasal vowels. Okay, you're going to have to break this one down for me. I have no idea what that means.
Basically, imagine saying a vowel but pushing the sound through your nose.
Like you're humming, almost.
Exactly. Like take the word some in Portuguese, which means sound. You're humming that O sound. It's subtle, but it makes a big difference.
Wow, okay. I can definitely see how that would take some practice. So when it comes to vowels, Portuguese wins the complexity award. But the article also mentioned Portuguese having a more elaborate system of verb tenses and pronouns, right?
It does. And yeah, that means that Portuguese grammar can feel a little tougher to grasp, at least at first.
So what, we're talking more than just your simple past, present, and future tenses?
Oh, yeah. Way more.
Yeah.
You've got all these subtle distinctions in time and mood that you have to juggle with verb conjugations. It's a workout for your brain, that's for sure.
It's like the linguistic version of a marathon. But hey, isn't that part of the fun? Those aha moments when you finally nail it.
Totally. And honestly, those little victories, they feel so good in Portuguese because you know you've really accomplished something. Plus, let's be real, learning a language is about so much more than just the technical stuff, right? It's about tapping into a whole new way of life.
100%. It's like you're not just learning words in grammar, you're getting a crash course in a whole new culture with its own unique customs, history, perspectives, everything. So where can these languages transport us? What doors do they unlock?
Oh, the possibilities. Well, if you're drawn to a global passport, Spanish has to be tempting. I mean, think about it. Over 480 million speakers worldwide. It's the key to unlocking Spain, of course, but also so much of Latin America.
Right. We're talking vibrant festivals, ancient ruins, tango in the streets.
Exactly. But don't count Portuguese out. It may not be as widely spoken globally, but let me tell you, it's the golden ticket to Brazil.
And let's be real, who wouldn't want to spend time soaking in the energy of Brazil? The music, the food, the beaches. Plus, with Brazil being such a growing economic powerhouse, Knowing Portuguese, that's a serious asset.
No doubt. So yeah, no matter which language you pick, get ready for an adventure. But speaking of adventures, we've got to talk about these false friends this article brought up, because things can get a little tricky and honestly hilarious.
False friends, those sound dangerous.
Oh, they can be. Basically, they're words in two languages that sound almost the same but have completely different meanings.
Oh no, that's a recipe for disaster. Give us an example. What kind of linguistic landmines are we talking about here?
All right, picture this. You're at a restaurant in Spain, feeling confident. You want to order some chicken soup, so you point to the menu and confidently say, sopa de pollo.
Sounds good to me. Sopa dot soup.
Not quite. Sopa in Spanish. It actually means soap.
Wait, seriously? Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. And mortifying if you're the one ordering.
Right. And that's why those false friends, they're so tricky. It goes to show, even though Spanish and Portuguese have that shared history, those little differences, they can really trip you up.
It's like you really have to be paying attention. You can't just assume that if it sounds close, it means the same thing.
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance between appreciating the similarities, but also respecting the differences. Those differences are where things get really interesting.
So true. And speaking of differences, we talked about pronunciation, we talked about grammar, but what about those really subtle differences in expression? Like those idioms and sayings that really capture the personality of a language.
Oh, absolutely. And the article actually had a really interesting point about that. It talked about how Spanish tends to be more direct, more to the point, whereas Portuguese, they use more nuance, more idioms.
Yeah.
They like to imply things a little more, you know.
It's like the language itself reflects the culture.
So cool.
Yeah.
It shows you that learning a language is about so much more than just memorizing words. It's about understanding a whole new way of thinking and expressing yourself.
It's like stepping into a whole different world. So for our listener who's now got this whole smorgasbord of linguistic knowledge, what's the final takeaway? How do they choose their Iberian adventure?
You know, it really is like choosing an adventure, isn't it?
Mhm.
And the good news is there's no wrong answer. It's like picking between two incredible destinations. They're both going to give you an amazing experience.
It's about finding that connection, right? What speaks to you personally?
100%. What kind of music moves you? What kind of food gets you excited? Those things matter.
It's about the whole vibe.
Exactly. Let your passions guide you. And honestly, the most important thing is to just dive in. Pick one and get started. There's so much out there to help you learn. You know, apps, online communities. It's never been easier or more fun.
So true. And hey, you never know. Maybe you'll be confidently ordering that sopa de pollo in no time without the soap incident.
Exactly. And think about all those little aha moments you'll have along the way. That's the magic of language learning.
It's a journey, that's for sure, but so worth it. So to all our listeners out there, whether you're drawn to the sounds of flamenco guitar or bossa nova beats, embrace the challenge, have fun, and who knows, maybe you'll become fluent in both. Until then, happy learning.